We found the flashlight first, lying in the dirt next to the eastern fence post, its beam still on, flickering. The barbed wire had been cut clean, too clean, and the fence post, the one my brother was supposed to check, was gone. Just missing. Not broken, not pulled. Vanished, leaving behind a perfect circle of scorched earth. That was 2 nights ago. And tonight, 3 more posts moved. It started with a flashlight, just a cheap one. Black, plastic, lying half buried in the dirt, its light flickering over cracked, dry grass. That's what I saw first. The fence post next to it, number 74, was missing. Not broken, not pulled from the ground. Just gone. The wire hung like a rib cage torn open. That was where my brother was supposed to be. He left to check the fence line 2 hours earlier. He never came back. Caleb wasn't reckless. He wasn't the type to just vanish. He was the kind of man who counted the nails in every board and lined up his boots at the door. He was steady, sharp, silent, and he knew that land better than anyone. We grew up here on the edge of Black Hollow Ranch. Miles of open country, old pines, dust roads that disappeared into the dark if you blinked too slow. The kind of place where time didn't matter, but tradition did. And walking the fence line every Friday evening, that was tradition. It was our job to make sure the cattle stayed in and the world stayed out. The fence ran 2 miles east, through scrub and rock, right up to the woods the old maps didn't name. Most of it was normal, until you reached the stretch where the soil turned black. It was always soft there, even in drought. Like something underneath was still breathing. We called it the circle. Not because of any real shape, but because the land had a rhythm there. It pulled you in, and it didn't always let go. That Friday, the sky looked wrong. Not stormy, just sick, pale green haze. No wind, still as glass. Caleb stood on the porch at sunset, sipping from his dented thermos. He didn't say anything, just nodded toward the barn and started walking. Boots steady on the dirt, rifle slung over his back, flashlight clipped to his belt. I watched him disappear behind the hay shed, the grass brushing his knees. It was the last time I saw him. An hour later, the dogs started pacing, ears up, tails stiff. They didn't bark, just whined, low, like they'd already seen the ending. I went out to check, called his name. No answer. Walked the path he always took, past the feed bins, through the split fence gate, down the east trail. The ground crunched under my boots. The smell of hot iron drifted in the wind. And there it was. The flashlight, still warm, still humming, right at the edge of the circle. And the post, gone. No drag marks, no footprints, just a scorched ring around where the post had been. Perfect, clean, blackened, as if something had burned it out of existence. I stepped back, heart pounding. That's when I noticed the wire. It wasn't just hanging, it was twitching, moving, like it didn't want to stay still, like it had a pulse. I turned and ran. Didn't stop until I hit the porch, called the sheriff. They came with dogs, flashlights, a drone. Nothing helped. The dogs refused to cross the circle. The drone lost signal 5 seconds after takeoff. The sheriff stood at the edge of the line, hat in hand, muttering to himself. Said it was heat stroke. That Caleb probably wandered off, got turned around. But I knew better. I'd seen the look in his eyes when he reached the circle last fall. He never told me what he saw. Just came home that night and threw out his old boots. The next morning, I walked the line again, just me in the wind. The 74th post hadn't returned, but the others, they looked different. Leaning a little, angled wrong, like they were waiting for something. And the birds gone, no sound, no chirps. Even the insects were quiet. It was as if the world had paused, held its breath. And I was standing in the middle of its silence. I took photos, sent them to Caleb's friend. Ernie, an old rancher who'd lived 2 ridges over for decades. He called me back 30 minutes later. Didn't say hello, didn't say sorry, just whispered, "It's starting again." I asked him what he meant. He told me stories, things he hadn't spoken about since he was a boy. In 1972, Ernie's uncle vanished. Same stretch of land. Fence post number 75 had gone missing that time. They found his boot and nothing else. No blood, no body. Just a smear of soot and a fence post turned upside down. They thought it was a prank. Teenagers. But 3 months later, another man disappeared. And that time, the fence didn't just shift. It moved 5 posts in one night. Rearranged, forming a circle. They sealed it off, marked it on no maps, and never walked that part of the fence again. Until Caleb. I asked why they never warned us. Ernie went quiet. Then he said, "Because warnings don't stop it." The sheriff's department filed Caleb's case as missing, presumed dead. Said wild animals probably dragged him off. But I know better. I saw the way the dogs refuse to go near the eastern field now. How they snarl at empty air. How the porch light flickers every night at 2:11 a.m. How the fence line hums low like it's remembering. I set up cameras, trail cams, infrared, motion activated, one on each post between 70 and 80. Night came. I didn't sleep, just watched the monitors. And at 2:11, it happened. The screen glitched. A shadow passed over post 74. Then the camera went black. The next morning, the footage was corrupted. But when I walked the fence, there was a new post, fresh, still wet with sap, in a different place, as if it had moved overnight, as if it was growing. And on the ground beside it, Caleb's thermos, clean, cold, sitting upright, like he'd placed it there before walking away, or before being taken. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about a missing man. This was about the land, the circle, the posts, the ones that move when no one's looking, the ones that hum at night, the ones that remember. And I knew if I stayed long enough, if I listened hard enough, maybe I'd hear him, or maybe I'd vanish too. The next morning, I walked the fence line again, not because I wanted to, because I had to. Post 74 was gone again, vanished, no footprints, no sign of a break. Just empty space where solid wood had stood for decades. And this time, post 75 had moved 2 feet forward, toward the house. It was still in the ground, upright, solid, but not where it used to be. I measured it. I measured twice. The numbers didn't lie. The fence was changing, shifting in the night. I didn't tell the sheriff. He'd already written me off. Said grief makes the mind see things that aren't there. But this wasn't in my head. The earth was different. The air smelled like burnt metal and damp stone, and the birds still hadn't come back. Not one. I left my dog at the gate that morning. He wouldn't come near the field, just sat in the driveway, tail tucked, eyes fixed on the fence like it was watching him back. I kept the cameras rolling, replaced the damaged one, put up 2 more, and then I waited. That night, I stayed in the barn. Didn't sleep, didn't move, just stared through the window at the fence line. And when the clock hit 2:11 a.m., everything changed. The temperature dropped, fast, from 78 degrees to 42 in under a minute. I could see my breath in the barn. The walls creaked, the horses shuffled, the cattle moaned low, uneasy. And then I saw it, movement. Post 76 shifted, not much, just a tilt. But it moved. Then 77 leaned with it. Then 75. It was like something beneath the ground was breathing, pushing, rearranging the line to match a shape it remembered or needed. I ran outside, took pictures. My boots sunk half an inch into the soil. It was soft again. Not mud, but spongy, wet, like something just beneath the top layer had stirred and slipped away. I touched the base of post 76. It was cold. Colder than the air, and it was wet, like sweat, like fear. That morning, I got another call from Ernie. He didn't ask how I was. He just said, "They're forming the ring again, aren't they?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He already knew. He came over before noon, brought with him a stack of old notebooks, yellowed pages, hand-drawn maps, dates and diagrams from 1965 to 1982, all showing the same thing: fence post patterns, shifts in soil, temperature drops, missing animals, missing people. In each case, the pattern formed a circle, 12 posts at a time, always during late summer, always around 2 a.m., always ending in silence. Ernie turned the last page and looked me dead in the eyes. "They're marking something," he said. "They always were." "What?" He hesitated, then whispered, "A door." I didn't want to believe him. Didn't want to think about what kind of door would need fence posts to build its frame. Didn't want to think about what came through it, or what waited on the other side. But then he showed me the final page. A note from his uncle, written the night before he disappeared. It said, "I saw the posts move again. I heard my name. But it wasn't a voice I knew. I think it was trying to remember how to speak. I think it's trying to learn us." That night, I walked out with a shovel. I had to know. I had to see what was under those posts. I picked number 78. It was the newest one to move. I dug 4 inches, 6, 10, until I hit something. It wasn't stone, not metal. It was smooth, curved, like a bone, but not from anything I'd ever seen. It was black, dense, cold, and it pulsed under my hand. Just once, I dropped the shovel, ran like hell, didn't look back. When I returned the next morning, the hole was filled in, perfectly, as if I'd never touched it. And post 78, gone, replaced with a new one. Taller, straighter, and now, post 79 had shifted toward the house again. That day, I started marking each post with a red ribbon, just small ones. Cloth scraps, 1 per post, tied tight. I wanted to know if they changed, if they moved. That night, I watched. At 2:11, the air went still again. The world turned glassy, and slowly, quietly, the red ribbons began to sway, not in the wind, but side to side, like something beneath was dragging them, deciding which to take next. By morning, 3 ribbons were gone. Ernie stopped coming around, said it was too late, that once the circle completes, nothing can undo it. Said it's not about the land anymore. Said it's about recognition, that whatever it is, it remembers Caleb now. And maybe, now it remembers me. I haven't slept in days. The cameras are failing faster than I can replace them. Batteries drain in minutes. Screens glitch every time I get close to the eastern field. And 2 nights ago, the fence line hummed, softly. A low tone, almost like a voice trying to hum back. I recorded it, played it back, slowed it down, and in the hum, I swear I heard words. Not in English, but shaped like them. Like something was mimicking the sound of thought, learning rhythm, learning breath, learning us. The last thing I did before writing this, I checked the barn. The cattle were gone, all of them. No broken gates, no trampled soil, just gone. And in their place, stamped into the hay, 12 perfect circles, each one made from wire. Each one surrounding a footprint. One of them Caleb's boot print. I'd know it anywhere. It wasn't just a footprint. It was his left heel worn out. Toes angled slightly right from the old break in his second toe. The tread the exact match of the work boots he'd worn the night he vanished. The same boots we never found. And yet, here it was. One print, dead center in a perfect ring of rusted wire laid out like a halo. 12 of them. 12 rings. 12 footprints. 11 unfamiliar, 1 I knew. I knelt beside Caleb's print and hovered my hand over the wire. Didn't touch it. Didn't have to. The heat radiating off it was enough to sting my skin. Not fire, not natural. Something deeper, older. The straw beneath the circles hadn't burned. It had folded, pressed down from within, not above, as if something heavy had stood up from the earth. I backed away, heart pounding in my chest like a trapped bird. The animals were still gone. No blood, no signs of a struggle, just those 12 rings. I called Ernie. He didn't answer. Tried the sheriff again. Voicemail. I tried to tell myself it was all explainable. That maybe the animals ran. That maybe the wire was an old trap. That maybe Caleb's boot had been dropped somehow by someone who didn't want me to let this go. But then, that night, I heard him. It was just past 2:11 a.m. I was in the kitchen, staring at the cameras. Nothing moved on screen, but outside the window, a shadow. Still, then a voice. Soft, hoarse, right behind me. James. I froze. That's my name. Only Caleb ever said it that way. Quiet, clipped. With a little rasp from that summer, he got strep throat and never fully recovered. I turned around. No one was there. I grabbed the rifle, ran to the door, swung it open. Nothing but night. But from the direction of the fence, I saw it, a red ribbon, floating, lifting off post 80 like it was being untied by invisible hands, then drifting toward the tree line. Slow, deliberate, I followed it. Couldn't stop myself. My boots hit the edge of the circle, and everything went silent. No wind, no insects, not even the sound of my own breath. Just the hush, like the earth had shut its ears. I called his name, Caleb. No answer, but something answered me. Not a voice. A sound. It started low, metal scraping metal, then wood bending, then singing. Not words, not notes, just the shape of a song, like someone trying to remember how to pray after forgetting what language was. It came from under the ground, beneath the posts, from inside the circle. I ran. I don't remember how I made it back. Just remember the door slamming behind me, and the flashlight flickering out in my hand, and the whisper, faint, behind the kitchen wall. I'm almost home. The next morning, I dug up post 79, not because I wanted to, because I had to. I needed to know what was under it. Same as the others. 6 inches down, the dirt changed. 10 inches, the soil turned black. At 12, I hit something. Not wood, not stone. A face, not whole, not human. Carved, smooth surface, buried in the dirt like a statue head. Eyes closed, mouth open. I brushed it off, hands trembling. Its lips curved just slightly. Not in a smile. In recognition. And just beneath its chin, etched into the base, was my name, James. I collapsed back onto the ground, stared at the sky, tried to breathe, but the air had changed again. Heavier now, full of waiting. I covered the face, buried it again, marked the post with 3 red ribbons. I don't know why. It felt like a warning, or a seal, or both. That night, the cameras all went black at once. Hard cut, no flicker, just dark. Then the barn lights came on, all of them, at 2:11, exactly. And standing in the center of the field was a shape. Tall, thin, wrapped in strands of rusted barbed wire. Not Caleb, not human. It didn't move, didn't blink. Just stood, watching, learning. I stayed inside. Didn't sleep, didn't blink. At 3:07, the lights shut off. The figure was gone, but when the sun rose, the grass in the field was flattened. 12 rings, again, all perfect, all untouched by human hands. And in the center, a note, written on the back of Caleb's old pay stub. In his handwriting, the circle is almost closed. I don't know how much time I have. The fence posts have moved again. Now 10 of them lean inward. 2 more left, then it'll close. The ring, the gate, whatever it is. And I think when it does, Caleb comes through, or something wearing him. I've boarded the windows, charged the batteries, loaded the rifle. But I don't think any of it will matter, because tonight is Friday, and Friday was his night. And I can already feel it beneath the floor. The humming, the breathing, and that same voice in the back of my mind. Not a scream, not a plea, just a whisper. I held the line. Now it's your turn. Friday came heavy. The kind of day where the air doesn't move, and even the dust seems to hang in place. Waiting. I didn't go to work, didn't answer the phone, didn't eat. I just watched. The cameras, the fence, the clock, ticking down toward 2:11. That evening, I marked the last 2 posts, 81 and 82, red cloth, 3 knots each. I tied them with shaking hands. Each knot a prayer I no longer believed in. The field was different now. It felt aware, like it knew I was watching. And it didn't care. The posts didn't just lean anymore, they pulsed, slow, rhythmic, like a breath too deep to belong to anything human. I buried Caleb's thermos near the 74th post. Didn't know why. Felt like he'd want it there, felt like it belonged where he left it. I whispered his name. The wind didn't answer, but the wires rattled. Just once. Sunset came fast. The sky bled red and then turned to ash. By 9 p.m., the house lights flickered. By 10, the dogs in town had gone quiet. By 11:45, every camera on the east field glitched just for a second. Long enough for the 81st post to vanish. Gone. Upright that afternoon. Missing now. 1 left. I loaded the rifle. Not that it mattered, but it gave my hand something to do, something to hold. I sat by the window, watching the clock. 1:58 a.m., then 2:04, then 2:11. SFX deeper ambient hum builds underneath, soft pulsing. It started slow, that low hum, not from the earth, from inside the house, through the floorboards, up the walls, into the wiring. The lights flickered, dimmed, then went out. Total darkness. Except outside, the fence was glowing. Every post lit from within. Pale white, pulsing like veins. Then I saw it. Post 82. It moved, tilted, shuddered, and dropped. The ring was complete. 12 posts, 12 spaces, all in place. And in the center, a figure. At first, I thought it was Caleb. Same height, same shoulders, same walk. But as it stepped forward, I saw the truth. It wasn't walking. It was dragging. Its legs didn't bend. Its arms were too long. Fingers curled like branches. And its face, God, its face was wearing Caleb's, but it didn't fit right. Like a mask pulled too tight over something that couldn't smile. I backed away from the window. The humming got louder. Not angry, not sharp, but hungry, like something remembering what it once had and wanting it again. I gripped the rifle, pointed it toward the door. Then, knock, knock, 2 soft taps, like a neighbor come to borrow sugar. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Another knock. And then, James, it's me. His voice, perfect, too perfect. Not tired, not afraid. Like a recording, like something trying out a new tongue for the first time. Open the door. I'm home now. I said nothing. I whispered a prayer I didn't believe. The door handle turned, clicked, but didn't open. The locks held. I stepped back. And from behind the door, a scraping sound. Long, slow, like nails down wood, or wire tightening around bone. The voice changed, dropped lower, more familiar, more wrong. You never listened. James, I held the line for you. Now it's your turn. And then, silence. The hum stopped. The lights returned. But when I looked out the window, the posts were gone, all 12. The field flat, empty, like nothing had ever been there, like nothing had ever happened. I opened the door at sunrise. There was no sign of movement, no footprints, no burned grass, except for one thing. Right on the doorstep, a small box, wooden, old, sealed with wire. Inside, a finger, wearing Caleb's wedding band. I fell to my knees. I didn't cry, didn't scream, just stared. Because underneath the box, written in ash on the porch, were 4 words. You closed it too late. I buried the finger beneath post 74. It felt right. I don't know why. Maybe it was all I could do. Maybe it was the only part of him that came back. If it was him, that was 5 days ago. The land's been quiet since. No hum, no lights. The grass is regrowing, but I don't trust it, because every night now, at 2:11 us meet, I wake up, not from sound, not from dreams, just wake and feel it, watching, waiting. I don't know what the fence kept out, or what it held in. I only know we broke the line. We walked too close. listened too deep, stayed too long, and whatever hurt us remembers. I don't leave the house after dark anymore. I don't walk the fence. I just wait. Because I think the circle never needed all 12. It only needed one to listen, and I did. The circle didn't open again, not the way I expected. Not with lights, not with humming, not with Caleb's voice on the wind. No, it opened in my head. It started on the 6th night. I was sitting at the table, alone. Same cup of black coffee growing cold in my hands. Same cameras on the wall, all feeds silent, still. Then I saw it, right there, in the center screen, a new post, post 83. I blinked, refreshed the feed. It was still there, tall, thicker than the others, slick with something dark. It hadn't been there the night before, and it wasn't one of mine. I counted them 100 times. This one didn't belong. It stood just beyond the spot where the circle had formed, just outside it, just beyond the line, like a question that hadn't been asked yet. I grabbed my boots, the rifle, headed out before my fear could catch up with me. The night was silent. No crickets, no coyotes, no wind, just the crunch of gravel beneath my feet and the sound of my breath, louder than it should have been. The new post was real, taller than the others, split at the top like a mouth. Barbed wire wrapped its base, twisted tight, no fence attached. Just the wire, curling around it like veins. And at its foot, a letter, folded, yellow paper, my name written on the front. James. I didn't want to open it, but I did. And inside, in handwriting that looked exactly like mine, you were the 13th post. I dropped it, stepped back. My pulse slammed against my ribs. I looked around. No one. But the grass, it had bent around me, like something beneath me had shifted, like something was rising. I ran, faster than I had in years. Didn't look back. Didn't stop until I was inside the house. Door locked, rifle across my lap. I stayed up the whole night. Eyes on the feed. The 13th post never moved, never vanished. It just stood, patient. The next day, Ernie called. First time in weeks. Said he'd seen something. Something outside the old church on Hill Road. Said the ground had opened, that bones were showing. But they weren't animal, and they weren't alone. I drove out there, didn't ask permission, didn't tell anyone. The church had been abandoned since 1983, fell into itself. Nothing left but the foundation. Some rotted wood and broken glass, but Ernie was right. There was a hole near the altar, 6 feet wide, and inside, more fence posts, stacked like bones, some still wet, some fused with bits of cloth. And in the center, a skull, smiling, and burned into the ground beside it. Line held, line broken. I don't know how I made it home. All I remember is the smell, like scorched memory, like something that shouldn't have been remembered. Was that night. The voice returned, not Caleb's, not mine, something older. It came from inside the walls, inside the wiring. One more to stand. Then the door opens. Then the voice comes home. I screamed, fired 2 rounds into the floor. Silence, until knock, knock. I opened the door. No one, just a single item left on the porch. A mirror, old, framed in twisted iron, and carved across the top 3 words, know your face. I brought it inside. Shouldn't have. I knew better. But I needed to see. I stood in front of it. At first, just me. Then my reflection blinked before I did. Then it smiled. A slow, wire-pulled grin, and whispered, "You held the line. Now hold the door." The mirror cracked, straight down the middle, and in the silence, I felt it. Something had changed. Not just in the house, in me. I didn't feel tired anymore. Didn't feel fear, just pressure. Like my name had been written into the soil. Like my heartbeat didn't belong to me anymore. I looked at the wall where Caleb's picture used to hang. It was gone. In its place, a black and white photo I'd never taken. The fence line, all 13 posts, and at the center, me, not smiling, just standing, waiting. I tried to leave. Drove west, made it 2 towns over. Car died, not the engine. The metal, it rusted in real time, right before my eyes. Bolts popped loose, doors sagged. frame crumbled. And when I looked at the mirror in the rear view, the road behind me, gone, just posts, endless, stretching back through time. I walked back home, 3 days on foot, no sunburn, no hunger, no thirst, just the hum in my bones, like I'd become a tuning fork for something ancient, something patient, something almost here. I boarded up the house, painted the windows black, buried the mirror under concrete, but it doesn't matter now, because the 13th post still stands, and every night at 2:11, the others return, not in the field. Inside the house, one post, then another, then a voice, singing. It sings in reverse, a hymn unwound, a prayer taken back word by word. And when it ends, I hear Caleb, right behind me, saying the same thing every night. We needed a voice. You were loud enough. I don't know what's coming, but it's already begun. I feel the door. It's not wooden, not metal. It's thought and blood and memory. And I think I'm the handle. If you're hearing this, don't come for me. Don't look for Caleb. Don't trace the fence line, because every post is a choice, and every choice remembers you. It started raining the night the door opened. Not water, not like any rain I'd known. It hit the roof like whispers, not hard, not loud, just constant. And every drop sounded like it had a name. I sat in the dark, rifle across my lap. No lights, no clocks, just time. Stretching too long. I hadn't slept in days, maybe weeks. Didn't matter. Time didn't run straight anymore. The mirror I buried, it cracked through the concrete. I found it on the porch, waiting. No frame this time, just glass, reflecting only the fence. Even when I stood in front of it. Behind me, 13 posts, in a circle. In the living room, I blinked. They were gone, but the floor was different. The boards darker, softer, like the wood had begun to rot from beneath. Like something was pressing upward, ready to come through. At 2:11 a.m., the power died. I didn't bother with flashlights. I just listened. And sure enough, the hum returned, not in the walls this time, in my chest. My bones vibrated, my teeth buzzed. It felt like my blood was being tuned like a wire, pulled tight, ready to snap. I stepped outside. No stars, no moon, only fog, dense, moving, and the fence. It had grown, thousands of posts, stretching out from my property in every direction, curving, connecting, drawing a shape too big to comprehend, like a symbol the world wasn't meant to read. At the center stood the door, 13 feet tall, built from fence posts, wrapped in wire. No hinges, no knob, just there, waiting, like it had always been waiting, like it had always been mine. I approached. My boots left no prints. The grass didn't bend. The air pressed in on all sides, not heavy, but hollow, like the world had pulled back, leaving just me, the door, and the sound. That hum, now clearer, almost words. As I stepped closer, I saw them. Figures inside the posts, faces stretched along the wood, mouths wide, eyes open, frozen in a moment of silent scream. Caleb was among them, front and center, but his eyes moved. They looked at me, and then he smiled, not wide, just enough to know it wasn't grief anymore. It was acceptance. I reached out. The door didn't resist, didn't creak, didn't groan. It opened like it had always known I would come, like it had waited. And on the other side, darkness, not empty, not still. A darkness that watched, a darkness with memory. I heard my name, not from outside, from inside the dark, and not in Caleb's voice. In mine, a perfect echo, not calling for help, but calling me back. I stepped forward, 1 foot into the black. The air inside was warm, like breath, like it had lungs. It moved around me, inside me, and then silence. No hum, no wind, no sound, just stillness. And then a question, not spoken, not heard. Felt, will you hold it? I didn't know what it was, not exactly. But in that space, I knew the answer had always been yes. Because I'd already been doing it. Every night I stayed. Every ribbon I tied. Every name I remembered. I had been holding the door, without knowing, and now it needed to stay shut. Not locked, held, the way a dam holds water. The way a body holds pain. With will, with weight, with silence, I turned back. The door stood behind me, 13 posts tall, now sealed, and I could see through it. The field, the fence, the house, all untouched, all exactly as I left it. But I wasn't there anymore, and I never would be again, because now I'm part of the line. The 13th post, the last witness, the one who didn't run, the one who listened. And somewhere on the other side, someone else will see the door, someone else will hear the hum, and someone else will have to choose to ignore it, to fear it, or to hold it. Some doors don't need keys. They need names. They need memory. They need someone to stay when everyone else runs. If you're listening to this, you already hear it. That sound in your walls, that twitch in your lights, that shape in your dreams. It's not after you, not yet, but it remembers those who remember it. So ask yourself, if the door opens again, will you be the one to hold it shut? They say the house still stands. Same porch, same gravel road leading up to it, same old windmill creaking in the back, but no one lives there now. The lights never come on. The barn is empty, and the grass along the fence line doesn't grow anymore. Not dead, just still, like the soil itself is holding its breath. The new owners came once, last spring. A young couple with plans to raise goats. They left before sundown, didn't speak to anyone in town, just packed their truck and drove until their taillights disappeared into the trees. Said the ground felt wrong. Said the posts were humming. No one blamed them. We know better now. We know the land remembers. The door may be closed, but the memory remains. They tried to remove the fence once. Hired a crew, big men, machines. They made it 6 posts in before one of them collapsed. Said he saw someone watching from inside the post. Said it smiled at him. They left the equipment behind. Never came back. The sheriff's report called it local folklore. Blamed it on gas leaks, magnetic fields, rural hysteria. But his deputy won't go near the place. Not since her radio picked up a voice saying her name. In her own voice. At 2:11 a.m., some nights, the townspeople swear they see him. A figure in the fog. Tall. Still. Standing between the fence and the tree line. Never moves. Just waits. Sometimes. There are 2. And then there's the boy, 10 years old. Lives in town with his grandmother. He draws the same thing over and over. Circles. 13 posts. One figure in the center. When asked who it is, he says, the one who stayed so we could forget. But forgetting isn't easy. The ground doesn't forget. The wind doesn't. And the posts, what's left of them, seem taller every year. Thicker, older, like they're growing from something or someone. Ernie passed last fall. Never talked about the fence again. But the nurse at his hospice said his last word was, hold. And his hand gripping the bed frame so tight it splintered. They buried him without a headstone, just a plain wooden cross. But 3 days later, the grass around his grave died in a perfect circle, 12 feet wide. Caleb was never found, at least not officially. But every so often, someone hears a voice in the static on their radio, saying, I held the line, followed by, now it's yours. As for James, there's no record of him after that night. No body, no note, just silence. And the post, the one taller than the rest, post 83, still standing, perfectly upright, wrapped in red cloth, tattered, faded, but always there, always untouched. Local kids dare each other to touch it. Some do, most cry. One stopped speaking for 6 days. When he finally did, he said, it's not wood, it's listening. They tried cutting it down once. Chainsaw wouldn't start. Axes bounced off it like rubber. The mayor suggested calling the state, but the town voted no. Better to leave it alone. Let the quiet have its space. Because something changed when James stepped through, not just in the land. In the people, we don't raise our voices much anymore. Don't walk the woods at night. We plant our fence posts in stone now, and we tie red ribbons when we're afraid. Some say the door is gone. Others say it never really opened, but I believe it did. I believe James held it shut long enough for us to forget what was on the other side, long enough for us to breathe again. But not forever, never forever. Because memory is soil, and the past, it always grows back. I'm telling this story because someone has to. Because forgetting comes easy when it's quiet. And when it's quiet, that's when the posts start moving again. When the hum returns, when the voice finds you, soft at first, familiar, and if you listen too long, it knows you're listening. So if you ever find yourself on a gravel road that shouldn't be there, if you pass a field where the fence leans toward you, if the sky goes still and the wind forgets how to move, stop, turn around, don't look back. And if you hear your name, don't answer, because if you do, you might be the next post. And the door, it only needs one. James wasn't a hero. He was just a man who didn't run. A man who listened too closely, stood too long, and held something no one else dared to touch. He didn't save the world. He just bought us time. Time to forget. Time to rebuild. Time to sleep without hearing our names spoken in static. But that time is running out, and when it does, the door will remember who didn't listen. Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey through the 13th post. If this story stirred something in you, chills, questions, or quiet reflection, we're glad you stayed until the very end. Your support means everything. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next deep dive into the eerie, the forgotten, and the unexplained. If you enjoyed the story, leave a comment below. Tell us what gave you goosebumps or what you'd like to hear next. And if you think someone else needs to hear this, share it, because some stories deserve to echo.